Many folks have been asking lately, can Star Trek be saved? And with the news that's come out today, maybe it can. Also, The Boys is ending, but just not quite yet. And Matthew McConaughey has a new movie on the way, and it might be a Western, but it has one heck of a cast. All right. So, as always, guys, first and foremost, I want to go ahead and mention Criticalist. Make sure to go to criticalist.com, check us out in the Apple and Android stores, download the app, or just hop on the website. We are an entertainment review platform where you can talk about movies and TV shows and all the things that you were watching, and you can review them and just hang out and make friends in an old school atmosphere, kind of like the MySpace days. So, on to the first bit of news. What I wanted to talk about was Star Trek and if it could be saved. Now, if you have not been following the recent saga of Star Trek, basically, many people think that, and rightfully so, I think, are saying that it's going the route of Star Wars and Doctor Who and many of these other franchises, which is basically to say that the owners of these large franchises seem to be trying to drive them into the ground, at least according to somewhere near half or maybe even more than that of their audience. And if you notice, what is happening with all of these franchises is they are just deciding to go the modern politics route, and they are trying to push as much modern politics as possible into all of these franchises. And a lot of the times it happens in very jarring and strange ways that just don't really work. Now, Star Trek Discovery was one of the new shows that they've been doing for a while now, and that one, at least on Criticalist, is not very well received. It is sitting at a 7% heinous, which is quite a low score. We have many zeros actually for this show, and I watched it, and I'm going to say this: for the first maybe two seasons, I liked it fairly well. Now, I felt like it was a pretty large departure. I was a more Star Trek fan from when I was younger, but wasn't like a diehard, but liked the franchise fairly well. And I am of the controversial opinion that I actually like the Abrams Star Trek movies. I know, but basically, this show, I was okay with it for the first little bit, and then it just went on a full blown departure, along with adding in a lot of real world politics into the world of Star Trek in ways that they tried to do as in world and tried to make it seem like it worked when it just took you out of it. And it was not my bag, and it fell way off a cliff, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And I've heard that it got worse and worse from around when I bailed onward. So I mean, I don't know. The other shows that they've been coming out with, it sounds like with Picard, it was a really rough start but got better near the end. And there is Strange New Worlds as well, which I've heard not a ton of great things about, more of just kind of mid, but it sounds like it's done a lot of the same things. Now, this bit of news is that Paul Giamatti has joined Star Trek Starfleet Academy. I did not even know this was being made, but they're saying that he's going to play the main villain. And actually, it is going to be considered a recurring guest role on this show. Now, this is going to be kind of interesting because it's following Starfleet and the Academy, so it's more of like students that are coming up within Starfleet. So I'm curious how the whole villain thing is going to work. I'm just not really sure what the approach of this show is going to be, but they have announced one other cast member so far, from what I gather, which is going to be the captain, who's going to be played by Holly Hunter, which they mention in here. And they are the only two bits of news that have come out about this. Now, granted, that's another thing that a lot of the Star Trek Discovery criticism comes with, is it's a lot of the Star Wars type of girl bossing that they did with Rey with this show as well. Now, and we see, I mean, I'm not going to judge it yet. We've got a female captain as well on this show who's going to be the chancellor as well, and it could be totally fine. It's all about proper writing and execution, and as to if these characters are handled properly or in what people consider a Mary Sue type of way, which is just these girl boss for the sake of girl bossing with no real explanation as to why these characters are so awesome. They just are because they're female. And that this has just become a real problem within a lot of media. And what really sucks is that you instantly get these accusations of being sexist, or all of these isms that everyone attaches to you as an insult. But really, the accusation here from a lot of folks is that it's not about it being a woman. And there are people that just don't want that to be the case, that there is a woman captain or whatever. I don't have an issue with that. It's just about how this is being written. And it's the same with Star Wars and Doctor Who and a lot of these franchises, is just that these characters and these stories have been terribly written. So can Paul Giamatti save it? I mean, this guy's a big name actor. He's been around for a long time, and we all know that he does excellent work. And I actually recently talked about him from the news just a couple days ago, and it was about the fact that he is actually going to be doing a Hostel television show, which is really weird to me. So obviously he's got obligations with that, and I'm sure he's got films coming out. And so this will probably be a fairly limited role unless it just really blows up. The show does really well, but Star Trek viewership has plummeted. They are not doing well. Paramount has not handled the property well. So I just don't see this show being this huge, massive success, because a lot of even just the main Star Trek YouTube channels have all but gone away because none of them even want to talk about it anymore. And it's kind of happening with Star Wars. So, I mean, I hope that Paul can save it, but it all depends on the writing and how the show is done. And I wish it the best. I hope it does well. And if it's good, I will watch it and I will enjoy it because I like Star Trek. But also, like many people, I've started to hate that everything that I love is just kind of being destroyed. And here's the message to a lot of people that hate on all of this commentary from folks like me, and just start name calling. And the thing is, it's like, look, just think about it like this. If the politics were reversed and it wasn't your type of politics being pushed, and I know that you don't think that your type of politics are political, which is kind of ridiculous. Like, you just think that it's just natural. But the thing is that looking at it from another lens, a lot of folks don't see it as coming across as natural for the writing or otherwise. So the thing is if the shoe was on the other foot and there was a different type of message being pushed that you didn't feel like was your political type of messaging, how would you feel? Would you like it? Would you want it, rammed down your throat and everything you're watching? Would you want that to be the approach of every bit of media that you consumed to be something that you consider to be the opposite of what you believe in as your worldview? And my guess is that the answer would be no. You wouldn't like it, you would complain, and there would be problems. But the thing is that right now it's just kind of the same way across so many different avenues of discussion right now, where politics are kind of invading everything, and lots of folks just wish that it would be taken out. And the thing is that it just feels unnatural right now. So I don't know. I mean, maybe this show is going to be excellent, and I really hope that it is. Now, on to the next bit of news. It's about The Boys. And basically what they are saying is that season 5 is going to be the end of The Boys. And apparently, according to the showrunner, Eric Kripke, he said that this was actually his plan all along. So we are on the eve of this season 4 coming out this week, and a lot of people are really excited. And what he is saying is that season 5 will be the final season. Always my plan. I just had to be cagey till I got to the final okay from Vought. Thrilled to bring the story to a gory, epic, moist climax. And that's pretty on brand for this show. I mean, The Boys isn't going to be for everybody. It is gory and raunchy and over the top and ridiculous, and it has continued to get more and more and more and more of that as time has gone by. And a lot of people love it, a lot of people don't. Now, for me, it has kind of been diminishing returns as the seasons have gone along, because also, like how we were talking about with Star Trek and Star Wars and all these franchises, I feel like this one as well has leaned harder and harder into its politics, whereas before it was felt more balanced in the early seasons, and it felt less heavy-handed and more of like a commentary on all politics. And they've clearly kind of picked their political side now. And even when they're like ripping on the left, it doesn't really feel like that. It really feels more like they're just kind of ripping in one direction, which is towards more of the right and or even just libertarian side of things. And I just don't find that as interesting. If you are balanced with your politics, then have at it if you want to put that in things. But the problem is when it gets unbalanced. Now, with this show as well, we don't have a ton of reviews. We have 6, but I think more will come in as this new season launches. I don't know where I'd put it since we don't have seasonal reviews yet, because the early seasons I would give extremely high, like, most excellent range for the early probably 2 seasons. But as it's gone on, my opinion has dropped some. But we've got some really high reviews here, a lot of most excellence, honestly, and even some hundreds from like Tip for Talent. Divosaurus Rex gave it a 90. And then we've got one rad in here by I Miss Good Movies, which is 79, which is a solid score as well. Now, I think that this show can, if it pulls back a little bit and gets more balance with its politics, this season could be really good. It's just up to how they decided to write this season. Now, Gen V came out this past year, and I can say that I absolutely just really disliked it. It's not a terribly made show. It's just way too political for me. And they were really leaning into the Gen Z type of politics and a lot of the gender politics and the race and just all of it. It was a lot of, I almost liken it to how people complain about mansplaining. That's what it feels like when these type of politics are pushed in entertainment for me. Is it's a mansplaining type of approach, except for it's more like woke splaining or something. I don't know. I don't even like using that word anymore, woke, but that's kind of what it feels like. And it's just lame. It's not interesting. It's not fun. It's not creative, and it's in everything. And that's what this show felt like as well, is this attempt to be edgy while also being hyper political. And that is a really hard line to ride. And this show did not execute it nearly as well as The Boys does. So I don't know. Some of you, let me know what you think. If you're excited, not excited about the fact that this show is officially ending, it's not being canceled. They're just buttoning it up. This show does really well, and I definitely don't think it was anything to do with being canceled. I think that this is a genuine response from Kripke as far as the ending of this show and him having this planned. Shows can't go on forever. Granted, he did Supernatural, and that show went on for almost forever. It was a really long-running show, but it was a great show. And I think that he's good at what he does, and I hope that this season is great. And I will be watching it regardless because I've watched all of it. I mean, I literally dressed up as one of the characters for a Carl Urban's character for Halloween one year, dyed my hair, dyed my beard black. Like, it was ridiculous. And, I went all in because I was obsessed with this show. So I hope that it is good. And last season wasn't bad. It just wasn't my favorite. Now, last piece of news here is about a Matthew McConaughey movie that I want to talk about. I did not know anything about this, but it really has piqued my interest. And over the past couple weeks, I have mentioned how I think that Westerns are on a comeback, and I've talked about multiple movies that are being made. And I think that to some degree, this is going to be a modern Western movie, which makes me excited. And basically, they have cast a lot more individuals for this movie before we knew that Matthew McConaughey was going to be in it. And they are calling this The Rivals of Amzia King. Now, I don't know anything about any of that, but it sounds pretty cool. And I mean, this cast, wow, this is a lot of recognizable faces. Like, I mean, Kurt Russell, first and foremost, big news. Cole Sprouse, Owen Teague. I mean, both of those guys, I've reviewed movies that they have been leads in over the past couple weeks, between Lisa Frankenstein and with Planet of the Apes. These two guys were in those as well. And then we've got this young actor here who was in the most recent Spider-Man franchise, as well as a lot of other things like Grand Budapest Hotel. So there are a lot of recognizable faces. I think that this could be pretty cool. They are keeping a lot of the plot under wraps, but what they are saying is that it's going to be a character-focused crime thriller set against the backdrop of rural Oklahoma. Now, that line right there, rural Oklahoma, and it being a crime thriller, is what kind of signals Western to me. And I'm not saying like a classic Western, but more of like a modern Western. I think that this could fit into that realm and could be really cool. And Matthew McConaughey is leading it, like I brought up, and apparently they did a worldwide search for some of the actors and things like that. And basically, the thing that I found actually the most interesting about this movie is that it is going to be from writer-director Andrew Patterson, who just did The Vast of Night. Now, I say just did. It was a couple years ago. He did it back in 2019. Now, we have had 3 people review this. I need to actually go in and review it because I think that this movie is excellent. I loved it. We actually reviewed it on Criticalist Cast, but before it was Criticalist Cast, back when it was Critically Aroused, and it's on our Criticalist Cast podcast channel if you want to listen to us talk about it. But I think that this movie is awesome. It was a Prime Video original, and it's a sci-fi kind of retro film. I don't really want to say too much about it, honestly, but it's got an 85%, a 94%, and a 90 from 3 different reviewers within Criticalist, and I would rank it pretty high as well. And so that's who's making this movie, which I think is really good news because this guy did great work on that film. And if his work is even close to that on this one, then we've got a lot to look forward to. So I think that we should keep a lookout for the rivals of Amzia King. So as news comes out, as a trailer drops, I might bring it up again. But they're saying that this company called Black Bear is financing this. So I don't know anything about them really, but apparently they are handling the releasing of this movie. I at first was confused. I thought that was the name of the movie when I saw it in the article. But this could be cool. I'm excited. I'm definitely going to watch it. They've had one picture come out of Matthew McConaughey and the other lead actress that they picked up to be in the movie with him. And I think it sounds fun, and I hope that this is part of our new Western revival. I am all for it, and fingers crossed that that's actually what we get. And if you have not seen The Vast of Night, highly recommend you go check that out. But these have been some interesting news pieces. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about all this stuff, or the level of hate that I'm going to get potentially for talking about Star Trek in the way I did. Because if it's anything like Star Wars, then it is not a safe topic to call any of these properties political, or you will get absolutely ganged up on and attacked for saying anything negative, because it instantly means that you're a bad word. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's not the case. But who knows? I think that Paul Giamatti being cast could be cool, but also the show could suck. So Paramount, get your crap together with Star Trek, because I want to watch it again. So that's been it, I think, for today, guys. It's been fun. It's been real. And make sure to go to Criticalist. Like I said, create you an account, come say hi. More importantly, review things. Review some stuff like The Boys or Gen V or Star Trek Discovery. If you've seen any of those things, let us know what you think, because I am really interested in your thoughts on all of these shows. And like, subscribe, follow, all the fun stuff. Keep boosting us in the algorithm. The channel is quickly growing, and we have been getting more and more people. To all our new folks, what's up? Thanks for joining us. If you made it this far, then definitely thank you. And I will see you guys again tomorrow for the news. Later.